Fletch from All Things Overlanding here. On today's episode of the podcast / vlog, I'm going to be talking about gift ideas for 2019. Could be Christmas, could be Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. It doesn't matter, right? We're all overlanders. We all like to get gear. So as we head into December, I just kind of thought it would be good. I wrote a blog actually a few years ago on my website that's pretty basic back then because I'd never really been on a ton of trips. I was, newer to the thing. So it was like, give me a Cabela's gift card, give me a flashlight, that kind of thing. So on this one, I'm going to actually dive a lot deeper. I'm going to cover a lot of the stuff that I use on a, every trip basis. And then even some things that are on my wish list too. So most of them I use. A couple of them will be things that are on my list that I really want to get. So let's dive into that and let's kind of get going. So I'm going to kind of start with stocking stuffer type gear. Then I'm going to move into stuff that's about $50 or less. And then I'm going to move into bigger, more main present type stuff. So to hear what my suggestions are, definitely stay tuned and I'll jump right into it. Alright guys, so as I mentioned, I'm going to start with stocking stuffers. So these will be things that are a little bit lower priced, things like maybe 20, 25 bucks or less, that are generally smaller in size. So, if you have a spouse like I do, she's always like, what do you want for Christmas? I don't know what to get you. You always just buy the stuff before I can even get it and then put it. I don't like to wait, right? I don't want to buy something and then wait 2 months to open it or wait a month to open it. I want to take it and I want to go camping that weekend and use it. So it's tough for me, but I'm getting better. I'm realizing that she's going to kill me if I don't listen. So anyways, let's start with stocking stuffer type stuff. One of the things, and I don't have one right here because they're all packed up in my truck, that I'm going to talk about. And again, I'm going to put descriptions down below to all of these things so that just at a glance, really quick, you and or your significant other, share the video with your significant other and say, look, go down to the description. There's links to all this stuff. Here are the things I want, or copy and paste them out, whatever's easiest for you. The first thing I want to talk about is Hot Hands chemical hand warmers. These things are nice. You can get, I think, a 10-pack for about 15 bucks or so, somewhere in that ballpark. If you click on the link, you'll go see the actual price. But they are basically chemical warmers. You kind of just crack them and they start to heat up. They last for 4 to 6 hours, I think. I will take some of those sometimes if it's really, really cold. If we're talking 0 degrees, negative temps. Break a couple of those out, put them in my gloves. You can put them in your pockets. You can crack them, throw them in your sleeping bag and spread them out a little bit. Throw a couple in there and that'll help keep you warm throughout the night. So those are not just kind of a nice little, they're perfect for like stocking stuffer, right? They're tiny. You can toss them in a stocking. You're good to go. So that's number one. Number two, microfiber towels. We've all heard of microfiber towels. If you're a car person at all and you washed a car, you've probably used a microfiber towel. I had never really thought of it for camping overlanding until I watched some video, I think on YouTube, where someone was using them. And I was like, wow, that's a great idea because you can reuse them. They dry out really fast. They're small. They can fold up compact. So I actually have a set of these. It's out in my truck right now. They're called Free, I believe is the brand. But again, I'll put a link down below. But those things are great. They're good for drying dishes. They're good for if it rains and you need to dry yourself off. They're just, if you're sweating and, it's cold outside, but you work up a sweat, cutting firewood and things like that, and you need to dry yourself off, you can use those things up and then hang them up and dry them out really quick and wash them when you get home. So those are another good little stocking stuffer. Another one that's going to be good is the CRKT Tactical Spork. And I believe I have it here in my camping kit, which is another thing I'm going to talk about. Yep. Okay. So here's the CRKT Tactical Spork. They call it the Eaton tool. So basically what it is it's got, a couple of little 10 mil and various sizes, 8 mil, things like that you might need for your battery. It's also got a hole here for your thumb to go through. It's got a bottle opener. It's a spoon and a fork. It's really small in size. It's got a carabiner on it, so it's easy to attach to stuff. You don't lose it. It's actually pretty good to eat with. Like the spoon is a nice big wide size, and the prongs on it are actually fairly sharp to where you can, pick some stuff up with it. So I actually use this thing quite a bit, almost more than the rest of my regular silverware. So that's kind of another thing that's great for a stocking stuffer. It's about $5 or $6 too, so it's inexpensive. Another thing that I don't have right here on me, but I can post some pictures up, or you can click on the links, is mountain houses, right? So those run about $6 to $8 ish a piece. They're called Mountain House meals. Again, I'll put a few different ones down below. They're delicious. All you have to do is boil some water, pour it into the bag with the food, let it sit for a few minutes, and then you have a delicious meal. So those are nice little inexpensive things that make great stocking stuffers. Moving on, the P51 can opener. So you guys have seen me talk about this before. I actually keep one on my keychain. I keep one in my truck. It's just a little tiny piece of metal with a little tooth on it, basically. You put it on, actually I've got a can here. You put it on the lip of the can like that, and it just latches onto the side, and then you just lever it. You just use it like a lever, and you just work your way around the can, and it'll open a can pretty easily. It's a little bit of work, but it's pretty easy. It's very inexpensive. I think I got like 8 or 10 of these for like $10 or something like that. So again, another nice little, very useful stocking stuffer. Knives. So you guys have heard me talk a lot about my Kershaw Brawler, and you can tell, this thing's worn. I've daily carried this thing for a couple of years now, and I just recently switched to another recommendation for a stocking stuffer, which is the Kershaw Shuffle 2, which is my current daily carry knife. So the Kershaw Brawler, again, you guys have heard me talk about this. It is an assisted open knife, so it opens pretty quick. It's got a nice sharp blade, sort of a Tonto style, so you can poke things, you can open boxes, you can cut through just about anything. It holds an edge really well. I love the assisted open of it. That's the only thing I sort of miss when I use this Shuffle. But the Shuffle's a great little knife too. It's got sort of a Tonto style blade. Apparently I really like those. Shorter, smaller overall, lighter. It does have a nice bottle opener on the bottom here, which is nice. So again, when I go camping, if I've got some bottles of beer or something that I need to open, I've just got this and I can just go around the edge and just sort of open it up. So these are both great knives. I think the Kershaw Brawler is about $25 and the Kershaw Shuffle 2 is about 16 or 17 bucks. So again, perfect for stocking stuffers. Really cool stocking stuffers, right? Like if I got those, I'd be pretty stoked for stocking stuffers. A couple other things that I'm going to mention that are actually mounted in my truck, but I've had a number of people ask me about them. They're pretty inexpensive, and they give you a ton of flexibility for how you can mount gear, and that is the Quick Fists. So there are mini Quick Fists, which I use to mount things like flashlights and my Mora knife. I've got a Mora knife that I use when I cook and things in the back of the truck. It's mounted to my tailgate that comes up. And then I've got the regular size Quick Fists, which I use for things like my shovel, my Fisker's axe, that sort of stuff. And they run, $10 to $15 for a 2-pack, somewhere in that ballpark for most of them. So they're pretty inexpensive too. Again, great stocking stuffers. So moving on from there, the Sminneker Tactical Pen. I reviewed this one not too long ago. Again, this thing's 10-ish bucks or less, 10, 12 bucks, something like that. It comes with 4 or 5 different refills for it. It has a glass breaker built into it. It's just a badass looking pen, honestly. So if you ever need a pen for work or, that sort of thing, I like it because it's a little bit nicer. I actually hold on to it. I don't lose this thing. I keep it strapped with this big, nice long clip on it to my backpack so that I never lose it. But that's just a cool, again, a little bit different, a little bit, neat sort of stocking stuffer gift. So next, a thing that I'm going to show a picture of here. I don't own this yet, but I actually just saw it the other day. It's like $6, $7. It's really inexpensive, and it'd be awesome for hot chocolate or coffee, things like that, is the GSI camping mug. Again, there will be a link to it down below. It comes with a nice little wrapper that keeps your hands from getting burned. It has a little handle on it. It's super lightweight. It's super small. So if you're a coffee drinker or something like that, for just a few bucks, you really can't go wrong with that as a stocking stuffer. Another thing, and this is about the only Yeti thing that I own. Generally, I kind of shy away from Yeti because I feel like it's overpriced, honestly. I will say, though, and I'm sure that you can probably get, I think Coleman makes one of these. I'm sure Ozark Trail makes one of these, and they're probably, just about as good, if not as good. But I got this one actually as a gift for, I believe, Christmas a couple of years ago. It has this, plastic top on it that's kind of flexible. It will hold a bottle in here or a can. So you put a 12-ounce can in here or a 12-ounce bottle. The bottle sticks up a little taller. The can sticks right out of it. But this thing will keep your hands warm, keeps your beer cold. I mean, I'm talking it will keep the beer cold enough to where I can leave it, just sitting in this thing for 2-3 hours, where, normally a beer in 20-30 minutes would be warmed up. I can leave it in this thing and just let it sit. And this thing will keep it cold. So I actually really, really like this thing, and I highly recommend it. It's only about $25. Again, you could probably save yourself $5 or $10 by finding an Ozark Trail or a Coleman or, something similar. I don't know how those work though. I know how this one works, and I'd say for the few extra bucks, might actually be one of the few Yeti things that's worth it. So that's that. Move all this stuff out of the way. I'm running out of room. Another little thing that most people aren't going to think about, and a lot of folks, doing similar videos to this aren't going to talk about. I love this thing. It's my MSR Alpine dish brush, which sounds silly, but so especially as I've gone on longer and longer trips, I've gotten a little folding sink that I can use to wash my dishes. So again, the last trip I took was to West Virginia. It was about 4 days long. I had to wash my dishes. I've only got a couple of pots. So, night one, I made mashed potatoes and some ramen noodles and all my pots were dirty. So this little thing is handy because it actually has sort of a scraping edge. It has a hole in it where you can attach it to a carabiner to hang it up and let it dry. It's got a nice feeling, sticky sort of rubber grip to it so you can hold it really tight. It's got a little brush on it, which is great, and does actually help you clean a lot of that harder to get off stuff off your pans and stuff. But again, with these edges on it, it's got these long sort of sharp edges with little nubs on them so that you can get down into the nooks and crannies of your pot and get the gunk out and then clean it up with the brush and some soap and you're good to go. So, and this thing's about $5. So again, stocking stuffer, perfect idea. If you don't already have one, that's a good one to give to your family. Say, hey, get me this thing. And then the last thing in this category is a cable organizer. And that may sound kind of funny, but again, I've got a drawer system now. I've got my solar panel hooked up and I'm charging things off of that. I've got portable power banks and I'm charging off of those as well. And I'll put a link to, kind of my favorite power bank down below. But I had all these cords thrown into my drawers, or, you might have it thrown into your backpack or a Plano crate or something like that. It's just, without some sort of organization, it gets really tough to find stuff when you need it. So this thing's about $10, okay? It's really inexpensive. And check this thing out. So I don't know how much you can see in it. Let me hold it up here. It has just a number of these things that are just sort of elastic over here, and you can just slide all your different, your USB-C, your micro USB, your lightning cables, your iPad charging cables, your USB to USB, which I use to charge my lantern, another USB-C, which I use to charge up my Pocket, my DJI Osmo Pocket. I've got a super long micro USB here, so if I'm mounting an action cam to the outside of the truck and I'm worried about the batteries dying, I can actually plug this in inside, and it's like 12 feet long or something. I can run it out a window and plug it in to keep that thing charging and keep it running on the outside of the truck. And then you've got this little zipper pocket down here, and that zipper pocket has room for things like micro SD cards. You can see there's little elasticy things in there for SD cards, micro SD cards. I just throw extra cords in there too. It has a small footprint. It's pretty flat, so I can just kind of throw it in on top of stuff on my drawers, and it holds everything, which is great. It's also got this little outside pocket here, which you can throw random stuff into. So again, if you're recording your trips, or even if you're not and you're just charging phone, laptop, some stuff like that, maybe a drone, if you've got one, this is a great thing to have, and it's really inexpensive. So at $10, it makes a great stocking stuffer. So that is that. So next I'm going to move on to sort of under $50. So these will be slightly bigger things. Things that, may cost a little bit more, $20 to $50, somewhere in that range. So let's start with GMRS radios. I may be able to put in some footage of these because I've used them before, but they were out in the truck and it's cold out, so I didn't want to go get them. I use, I believe, Midlands, but again, I'll put a link down below to them. They aren't too bad. They're maybe $35-40, but they're GMRS radios. They last for a long time. I can probably get 4 to 6 hours per handheld of use. And what I do is I actually just plug it in. I plug the base into my battery, my extra battery that I have in the back, and I'm charging one while I'm using one. So I'm just swapping them out. So I pretty much have unlimited use of them. And if you had a friend, I've gone on trips with friends before, and I've given them one of my radios, and we could use them to communicate, and then we just charge them up that night. So those are a pretty good sort of main, sort of under $50 gift. Next, a Coleman double burner stove. Again, this one's in my truck. I'll try and put in some footage here. I'll put a link down below to it. These things are great. They're timeless. There are people running some that are, 30, 40, 50 years old, and they still run like a top. I've had mine for a couple of years now. I've got it in my drawer system. It slides out on a slide. Pop it out, open it up. I've got 2 burners. The only thing that I will say about the Coleman, and I'm sure that there are other brands that make fancier ones that are way more expensive, the Coleman's about $40-50. You don't have a ton of control over the propane. That's my only sort of negative of the Coleman. But if really all you're doing is like boiling water, to cook mashed potatoes. Like I do a lot of instant stuff. I warm up chili. I do instant mashed potatoes. I'll do ramen, that sort of stuff. So I'm basically boiling water. So I'm not like that crazy of a camp cook to where I need, total, full, super precise control of the propane. But if you do, maybe look at like I believe there's a Coleman Triton, I believe, or that may be another brand. I'll look some of those up and put some other links to those down below. But there are some that are about 150, 200 bucks, and they're awesome. They're beautiful and they're really nice. So if you're more of a cook, you may want to look at something like that. That kind of falls outside of my $50 range, but just saying. Camping cook set. So I already started to take this out. So you can see here, I'm actually a really big fan of this one. It comes in this bag with a little pretty nice locking carabiner on it. So again, you can hang it up. It comes with a number of pieces of folding silverware. They're a little bit janky, just that they kind of, you have to pinch them to fold them in and out here. So that's what they look like up close there. But you can kind of pinch them and fold them. The nice thing though is they're simple. So if they come apart, they're easy to pop back together. They're easy to clean, which is kind of nice. So they've got, forks and spoons and knives and all that stuff. So when I'm just camping just by myself, I usually use that CKRT folding one. If I've got the family with me, I'll use these. It does come with a little wooden spatula. It comes with a little ladle. It comes with a couple of reusable plastic bowls. It comes with a big sort of pot, which is really nice. And then you can tell that I've used the crap out of this pan. It comes with a little shorter side pan too. So, and then of course it all, as you would expect, stacks up together, fits in there. I even, like I said, throw my CRKT in there, eating tool, and I'm good to go. Fits right back into this bag. Easy to use, easy to clean, inexpensive, maybe 20, 25 bucks for this set. And you get a little bit of everything that you can use. So not only for cooking, but also for serving and eating, which I like. So that's a good piece of gear. One of my favorite new things though. So you saw the size of those bowls, right? They're pretty small. So when I cook an entire pot full of mashed potatoes and an entire pot full of ramen, there's no, I can put like 2 scoops of that in a bowl and I can make 70 trips back and forth to try and eat it. It's kind of silly. So I recently got this UCOware mess kit. And I've used it once or twice now, and I love this thing. Like, if you work for UCOware and you have other cool stuff and you want to send it to me in exchange for a review, like, I'd love to do that. Hit me up. But so here's what it looks like. So it's got a gorgeous design. I love the topographical sort of map design on it. It's got these little tabs on the side, and there's a reason for that. So it's got this little tether. The tether just kind of wraps around it. I'm not doing it right. I found this is just easier for me to just put it through there and then wrap it around the tab. There was a whole nother fancy way that it was before, and it actually comes with, so again, I can never have too much gear, but it comes with this pretty cool little fork knife or fork spoon. And it has a little bit of an edge on the edge of this fork that you could use to cut stuff, but obviously not like steak or anything like that. But it comes with a little spoon fork. Not a spork, a spoon fork. They originally had this over the top, and then that tether went through this and holds it to the outside of it. But for a couple of reasons, I feel like I've driven a lot of dusty places and dust gets everywhere. I don't really want my fork and spoon on the outside. And so these tabs, what they do is there's actually like almost like an airtight seal. There's a little seal in there. So what I like about that is, one, I keep the silverware in there, and I could keep more. I could probably get a lot of my, cooking gear in here. I could get, this thing, my little washer thing in here. I could get a ton of stuff inside of this and just store it. But because this seals, then it's going to keep the dust and dirt off of, my utensils so that they're clean when I get to camp. Also, what I like about this is if you have leftovers, right? So because this is pretty much like an airtight seal, if you have leftovers on it, you could throw your food in there. You could keep it, throw it in your cooler. Like if I had steak, let's say for one night, if I had a big old steak and some mashed potatoes, for example, and I just couldn't eat it all, or I'd had some other stuff, or, I just got too big of a steak and too many mashed potatoes, I could just keep them in here, put them in the cooler and let them sit overnight and then eat them cold, or have steak and eggs the next morning, or heat them up over a fire, throw them in my little short-edged pan there and heat the stuff up. So I love the flexibility of that. I love that I could, use it to store food after I've made it. So I'm actually a huge fan of this mess kit, and it was about 10 or 12 bucks. So it's really inexpensive too. It's a great value. So that's another thing. Another one that you've seen me review before is my Corona saw. So it's just a small, lightweight folding saw. again, I have a chainsaw, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit more here in a second. I love my chainsaw. I highly recommend the chainsaw. The chainsaw is infinitely better than a handsaw. However, if you don't bring your chainsaw with you everywhere, you can keep this in your vehicle very easily. And it will go through some stuff. Like, this thing will saw through a 3-4 inch log in no time, which is really nice. So it's just a nice backup, right? I've taken it on when I go to my kids' like campouts for Cub Scouts and things like that. And I can't bring a chainsaw to a kid's Cub Scout camp out, but I can bring this. And then people were extremely grateful that I had this thing when they saw me start cutting through some wood and processing some wood for a campfire. So that's another one. It's about 17, 18 bucks, I believe, on Amazon. So definitely there's a link down below. Check that out. I highly recommend it. Like I mentioned, there's a power bank. I'm going to put a link down below to it. I know it's in my truck. But power banks are awesome. I shoot for about 24,000 milliamp hour batteries generally, because that's a pretty beefy battery. I can charge, my phone 2.5, 3 times off of that. I can charge other accessories off of it. I can run lights off of it just around camp. Like, I'll run my Luminoodle off of that. Luminoodle is another good example. I'm going to add that actually, because that's a good idea. Luminoodle. The Trasharoo. I have a Trasharoo on the back of my truck that I'll use when I go out. I love my Trasharoo. It's only about 45 bucks. The thing about it that's really nice is it gets your trash outside of your vehicle. If you have a spare tire carrier on the back of your vehicle, or I actually attach mine to the side of my truck through the back door and the back hatch and up over my roof rack, it's just much better to put your cans and bottles and, if you have a toilet that you have with you and you have, waste in that too, rather than having to put it inside of your truck to get it out of camp and back to civilization, you can throw it in the Trasharoo. It stays outside. If you're doing trail cleanups, the Trasharoo can stay on the outside of the truck. It's fantastic. And then another one here, a first aid kit. I'm going to put a link down below to it. My Xterra actually came with a first aid kit, but I really like this one that I linked to below. It's about 26 bucks, but it comes with a really nice bag. It's got great reviews, like 2,500 reviews, and it's 4.5, 5 stars. So a great looking first aid kit is definitely something that you'll want to have, and a great idea for a gift. Rechargeable flashlights. I thought I brought those over here with me. I did. I just got these things. I haven't even reviewed these ones yet, but they are fantastic. They're super bright. They're zoomable. So you can zoom in and out. They actually have a bright and a dim mode, and then they have a flood, sort of a flood light, which I really like. And then, of course, the stupid flashing. But these things are about 20 bucks for 2 of them. And they're rechargeable. They come with the battery. And the battery is replaceable, but it's also rechargeable. So I love these things. I keep 2 of them in my truck, and then I've got 2 of them in my house. So I really like those things. Another one is wool blanket. I have a wool blanket. Mine was maybe 20, 25 bucks. Again, there's a link to it down below. I've used it a couple times in about sub 20 degree temperatures now. That combined with my sleeping bag, I slept like a baby. So again, just a good gift idea, right? And maybe not something that you just run out and buy yourself, but it's something that's great to have if you're more of a fall or winter camper, and it's a great gift idea. And then lastly, in the $50 category, rechargeable hand warmers. I didn't even know these were a thing. I randomly stumbled upon them, and I was like, you know what, for 20 bucks, the hot hands are really nice, but they're finite. They expire. These things are rechargeable, so I could charge them off my solar. You keep them in your pockets, and they're just cool, right? Like, just to have rechargeable hand warmers, you could put them in your sleeping bag at night, go to sleep, wake up, plug them into the solar, let them charge, plug them into your car battery, let them charge, and you can reuse them. You don't have to worry about, I only have 4, hot hands with me. I can just recharge these things over and over again and keep using them. So those are pretty cool. Finally, and I know I'm going over a little bit over 20 minutes here, so bear with me. I'm going to go quick through these last few here. But there are just so many cool products out there, right, guys? There's so many cool things, and you're not going to like all these things. Like, some guys aren't knife guys, some guys aren't axe guys, some guys aren't, whatever. Some guys have rooftop tents, and I'm going to talk about a tent here in a minute, so that may not apply to you. So I'm just kind of trying to cover all kind of my favorite picks. So I already mentioned it, but my Black & Decker chainsaw is awesome. I use it every single time I go camping to process wood. It's so much easier than a handsaw or even an axe. And since it's electric, again, I charge those batteries off my solar, and I just keep them charged. I have 3 batteries, and I just keep rotating them. So I highly recommend something like that. The CRKT foldable field strippable knife. This is one of my favorite knives, and I don't talk about it all that often, but I have done sort of a review and an unboxing of it a couple years ago when I first got it. The cool thing about this knife, One, it's made out of amazing steel. It holds a blade really well. It's super sharp. It's got a good look to it. It's a little big for like an everyday carry, but for camping, keeping this in my gear, this thing's awesome. The thing that I like about it, and I won't do it here because it's going to take too much time, is there's a little switch here you can flip, and then you can actually take this whole thing apart. Hence why it's called a field strippable knife. So you can take this whole thing apart. So let's say that you're out and you drop it in a creek or something, right? And you're on a week-long trip, 2-week-long trip. And you've just now, versus the Kershaw with the assisted open, if I muck this up with sand or mud or something like that and it gets stuck, I don't have the right tools to take this thing apart, and I'm just screwed. If it won't open, I don't have a knife, right? With this thing, no matter where you are, you could, fill it with sand and then take it apart and clean it out in a creek, and you're good to go. So I just think that's really cool. Again, it's a really nice quality knife. CRKT makes good stuff. As you saw, I have the spork thing already. So I love this knife as well, and I highly recommend their products. It's about 50-ish bucks, somewhere in that ballpark. So that's why I threw it in the bigger, more main presence section. The next thing, the Viair 88P portable air compressor. It's really small. I'll try to put in some video here. I have one mounted in the back of my truck, and I actually have an extension air tube for it that you can get it out to all the wheels, but it works really quick. So the main reason I have it is in a case of emergency, if I needed to fill up a tire, I can do that. But mainly when I go, to an off-road park or something like that, or if I'm off-road and I have to air down, it'll air up a 33-inch tire from about 15 pounds to about 30 pounds in like 3 to 5 minutes. So it's not the quickest thing ever, right? And you could spend a whole lot more, and you could get ones with tanks, and it takes up a lot more room. I just like that this one is really small and compact, but still airs it up pretty fast when you're talking relatively. So just to have something that gives you an option is what I like about it. And it fits beside my drawer system mounted to the side of the truck, so it's just easy to use. So that's a great one, and that's maybe 50 to 60 bucks. So again, it's a little bit more expensive, but it's a great product. The Smittybilt 8-foot awning. I have a Tough Stuff, very similar. Smittybilt, Tough Stuff. An 8-foot awning is pretty good. Some of them come in like 6.5 feet, I believe. So you want to look at, if you're shopping for your significant other, you want to measure it up. On my Xterra, an 8-foot fits perfect. It basically just extends past my doors, comes out off my doors, and covers everything on the driver's side of my vehicle. So I love it. And I use that thing all the time, and I highly recommend it. Because if it's on the truck, then it's way easier to use than some portable weird thing you have to take all out and set up. Then the Coleman 4-person pop-up tent. That's another one of my favorite things. It literally, you open it up and it just explodes open and you have a tent. So again, even if you are a rooftop tent camper, or even if you are a hammock camper, this is just a nice piece of gear for about 50 bucks that you can have as an option for really quick setup. Again, when I go to campouts for Cub Scouts, boom, all these other guys are setting up all these complicated tents. This thing pops right up. I look like a champ. It's easy to take down too. So quick, easy, comfortable. It's nice. A Coleman folding chair. I'm going to put a link to that below. It's kind of a director style chair. It has a folding table on the side of it. I use it all the time and I love it. It's super comfortable. It's pretty relatively inexpensive, maybe 40 bucks for the thing. So compared to a lot of the competitors, like Cabela's has some, and some of those big box stores have them, theirs are 60 to 80 bucks, I feel like. Sometimes you can get them on sale for about the same, but the Coleman one is it's perfectly fine. And then lastly, some sort of a portable power station. I'm going to link to a Jackery 240 below because I feel like that's just a good middle ground size battery. They do have a 400 and I think even a bigger one than that. There are a number of brands that make them. Sung Life, which is a brand that I've actually worked with in the past and reviewed some of their products. They make one. I'm talking to them about it right now because I'd really love to check it out. Some sort of a portable power station just makes your life so much easier. You could throw that thing in your tent, charge up phones, laptops, chainsaw batteries, anything. So it's just a nice thing to have. Okay, so we went a little bit over. Sorry for that. But again, I hope that these things were really helpful for you. I tried my best to kind of put together a good smattering of them. I've seen some other guys do videos like this, and I feel like they kind of bounce all over the place. So again, I kind of wanted to break them up by price. So that's hopefully helpful. So again, if you guys have some suggestions, if you guys have some things that you're eyeing or that are on your list, I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. So that's it. I'm going to wrap it up so that you guys can get on with your day. But thank you so much for listening. If you're on the podcast, for watching, if you're on YouTube, I really appreciate it. And we'll talk to you guys next week. Take care.